Alright.
Hey. Alright.
So if you'd like to introduce yourself with your name, age, pronouns, and gender/sexual identity if you're comfortable with that.
Of course, yes I
today.
am. Do I look at the camera?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, well, my name is BRANDALYNN. I am 21 years old. My pronouns are they, she, question mark. I identify as a lesbian.
So how comfortable do you feel in your gender/sexual identity, and are they at different levels?
I would say they definitely are at different levels, because like I realized like I was a lesbian a little bit before I realized I was non-binary. In terms of like my lesbian identity, it's a lot easier for me to accept because I've already known I was gay since I was 15. So like it was still like here and there I'm kind of like I get kind of like but like it's a lot more comfortable with my gender identity. As a non-binary femme, it's like there are a lot of things that can like lead to invalidation because I've like dealt with people like trying to invalidate me like based off of my presentation like directly. So it's just like a lot of things of like reminding myself like I am more than like how I present myself and stuff like that, and like I know myself best, but like it's not always easy when everyone's trying to tell you otherwise, you know what I mean? So I was just dealing with like basically an old friend. I'm not friends with them anymore. They were like trying to like invalidate me based on like my tattoos because I have like the Venus symbol tattooed right there.
Yeah.
And so they were like, I thought I could call you she because you have that there, and it's like, what is that? That literally that has to do with nothing. So I really don't understand. I know like how I feel. Like I started like distancing myself like a while like over quarantine because like I started realizing like how like I always felt like I was like putting on an act whenever I was trying to like be feminine or whatever. But once I saw like a comic that like really like helped explain it well, that like before the person realized they were non-binary, putting on makeup like felt like such a chore. It felt like they were trying so hard to like prove something that they weren't. They never felt like they were doing anything, but like after they realized they were non-binary, it was like, oh my god, like this is such a fun thing to do now because like I'm just expressing myself. I'm just a person that's expressing themselves. Same thing, that's how I feel like, especially like with skirts and stuff. I also felt that way about it. I used to hate wearing skirts, dresses, all stuff like that because I'm like, I feel like I'm just trying to prove something. But like now it's just like, it's just a very free, fun, there's more about like movement and stuff to me when it comes to wearing stuff like that. It's a lot more, like I said, like freeing overall. But
yeah. What was the coming out process like for you?
I was 15. I had called my cousin, who I don't even talk to that much anymore, funny enough, but she was like the person I was closest to at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, Abby, I think I'm bisexual. And she was like, oh my god, I had a dream about this. I was like, fuck off.
What?
First of all, there were definitely a lot of things for me, like in terms of like in general like sexuality sense, like actual like physical sexuality that like I was like curious about, that I was like, I feel like this is something that a gay person does.
Yeah.
So, but you don't like again the whole like looking up girls kissing on YouTube type phenomenon. That's like, I did that when I was, and again like I feel like that should have been a very big telltale sign. It was just a lot of like coming to terms with it. But then like after I came out though, it was like I still didn't really express it that much outside of like my physical appearance, because like I would wear like the typical like Hawaiian shirts and like just like be like trying very hard to be more on like not very much like distancing myself from like femininity, because I thought that's what you were supposed to do when you realize you were gay.
So do you feel like the support that you had when you were coming out, or lack thereof, affects how comfortable you are expressing your gender or sexual identity today?
A little bit, like a little bit sort of did, because I mean at the end of the day like I knew that I wasn't going to ever be able to come out to my parents. When it came to my support system, like it was just kind of like second nature, like coming out to them, because especially like I said, like a lot of my friends, like I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm gay, and like I didn't really think they'd think anything of it, and they didn't, of course, because like most of them ended up coming out after that. When I already knew from the get-go that my parents weren't going to be accepting of me, like I clung on to like the community I had, and I knew that like I'd be safe there.
How do your friends, family, community, loved ones support you now, and are there ways you wish they would support you instead?
Family, not very supportive. There was a time like 2 years ago that like I was almost outed to my family. Like my mom was just kind of like, we didn't raise you to be this way, da 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 da, like the usual spiel, whatever. Like, but I never ended up like saying it directly. My dad is a little different. Like he's very like, he's like the type of like old school thinker with like microaggressions, but like at the end of the day, it's like he's like the type that's like, well, you're still my kid and I still love you, and like I may feel some type of way about it, but like you're still my child type thing. It's not perfect, but it's better than fully being shunned, which is kind of what I expect from my mom, being raised Catholic and all that. As for my friends though, I mean, the people in my life who like don't get it, they like that now, like outside of the people that I've recently removed from my life, they always ask me like, yeah, like what do you have any terms you don't want to be called? Do you have any, like, would you rather me use they more than she, and they actually like make an effort. That's what I want out of people. And the people that are not in my life anymore, they never did try to make that effort. I just would want people to make just a conscious effort. Like, I feel like in any type of identity, like even outside of LGBT, like I've seen, like, obviously these are two very different things in terms of like what people go through, but like I remember like with Black Lives Matter, everybody was like, your Black friend should not have to tell you how to be a person. Like, you need to figure this out. Like, listen to people, like, and look up the resources, but you shouldn't be asking people like, what can I do? Like, look it up.
How do you express your gender or sexual identity at home, with friends, in your community, or to strangers?
Yeah, actually, I still dress like this even at home because my parents are very oblivious to everything. But I guess like a small thing, for example, would be like, as you can see here, my earrings are lesbian earrings. When I'm at home, I don't wear these because for obvious fucking reasons. Times where like I wear my binder, like they don't even notice. So I find that very interesting because I have boobs. So like it's very funny to me, but like they don't even notice. So like that's another nice thing that like I don't have to like worry about like putting it on and being like, why does it look like you don't have boobs right now? It's like, wow, magic trick. The only times that where like I have to change a little bit for my family is like if it's like a special occasion for like my mom or something, and they're like, we want you to wear a dress, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. Like it's very specific. Like I the way I dress is a very niche. Well, not niche, I look like every fucking gay person, but it's like more kind of like, hey girly type. That's what my mom wants me to look like whenever I'm like out with family or whatever. She'll sometimes be like, and don't do your makeup like face paint or anything like that. It's like, so it's just like, it's just kind of like just small things, stuff like that. But I think it helps though because of the fact that I am more femme. Because I know that if I dressed more like androgynous or like masculine or anything type of way, I knew they'd have a lot more to say. There are times where like I'm dressing a certain way and they tell me I look like a boy. Like I remember when I cut my hair the first time, like my mom was getting like really upset because she was like, you keep cutting your hair shorter, like you're gonna look like a boy. It's occasionally, but it's not like, it doesn't really stop me from like leaving the house like this because again they're oblivious to everything. So
how do you look for gender or sexual identity in other people?
Honestly, they look like me, like tons of earrings, makeup looking cool, lots of tattoos. That's a big one. Especially if it's like the like nonsense tattoos. That's usually how I know I'm like, that's definitely a gay person. I understand like because it can be problematic to like think that way and like be like, oh yeah, these people are outwardly gay, and it's like, I know that it can be problematic to like automatically assume that someone that looks like me must be gay, and like somebody who doesn't look like me, like they're definitely a straight person because they're boring. And it's like, I can say like, oh yeah, definitively, if I see somebody with cow docks and crazy earrings and cool tattoos, they must be gay. Not necessarily anymore. So
how has your gender/sexual identity expression grown and changed over time?
In a lot of ways. When I was younger, I was very hyper feminine, mostly because like my mom was very like controlling over what I wore and was very hypercritical of a lot of the things that I wore, especially growing up like as a fat child. Like she was very like she didn't want me to show too much skin, and she wanted me to make sure that things were hiding my fat and stuff like that. So like I never really had a choice in like a lot of the things that I wore because like she was the one buying my clothes. It was harder for me to like express myself because like that's like just an intersectional layer to it basically.
Do you believe that gender is innate, or do you believe that it sticks to us from the outside?
Okay, I think when it comes to like people who are like again like under system, I love using the word system, like but like system, for them it's like a lot more like innate because they're trying to like prove something so hard. I know like some cis people see it a little bit differently than others. But also like in terms of like also like trans people, it can be like with people who are like gender non-conforming, gender queer, everything like that. Like to them it's just kind of like it's an ever like all-encompassing thing that like doesn't really like make any sense, but it's just like can be so many things at once. For people who like feel like, who know like I am this way, it's like yes, like I feel it in me and I know it, like yes, it's more of like an innate thing, and like this is how I express it to everybody else. And it's like I feel like it's a very like I said, like a very nuanced thing to think about, like, you know, because like it just honestly depends on the person.
Alok said, I'm not a woman, I'm a Muppet, so I'd like to know how that resonates with you.
Gender can be like such an absurd abstract concept that like I feel like I identify as that like woodpecker right there. Like I feel like my gender is like that woodpecker or like whatever. People like to weaponize that, like, but I identify as a tech helicopter, whatever. Shut up. It's like, what if I do? It's just like, I don't know. People are able to understand that concept when it comes to like simple stuff that like they can relate to. But when it comes to gender, it's just like people tend to just like they do it to feel safe and to not make things more confusing. Because everybody I know who like is figuring out like gender and stuff like that, they're like, they get really scared first, like, because it's like it's just flipping your world completely different from how you knew it. I was scared when I was first realizing I was gay, but not with gender. Like it was like a breath of fresh air when I realized that, which was very interesting to me. So yeah, I would say I identify very much as a Muppet.